Forget Terence Crawford. Forget Usyk. The greatest boxer in the world is Jake Paul, according to Jake Paul. That's what he says in this press conference for Jake Paul versus 40-year-old drug addict. We'll get there. But let's start from the start.
Yeah, 100%, man. This is what I came here to do, is become world champion and to create one of the greatest sports stories the world has ever seen. Going from Disney Channel to YouTube to world champion in 6 to 7 years, that's the most relatable and best sports story that any kid can get behind, and that's what I'm here to do, is inspire the next generation and do what no one's ever done before in the world's hardest sport, which is boxing.
The most relatable story ever. That's what he just said.
That's the most relatable and best sports story that any kid can get behind.
That's the most relatable story, guys. Starting off as a Disney star, going on to becoming a YouTube sensation, going on to fighting Mike Tyson for $60 million, and then buying a private plane. Guys, that is so relatable. That's so relatable. Who among us is not a Disney star? Who among us does not own a private jet? This is the most relatable story ever. What can you not relate to in this? We've all done it.
You've faced some hostile environments in the past, the Nate Diaz fight being one of them. But this might be the most hostile you've walked into. Southern California, 2 Mexicans.
What? What? Oh my God, the racism. Listen to what he just said.
But this might be the most hostile you've walked into. Southern California, 2 Mexicans.
This might be the most hostile situation you've walked into. 2 Mexicans. Jake Paul, aren't you concerned this is a very hostile situation? There's 2 Mexicans here. Wow, dude. Wow. Imagine if he said that about black people. Jake Paul, you've been in some hostile situations, but this might take the cake. There's 2 black people. The riots, the GoFundMes. It would be another summer of love. Now the 2 Mexicans are Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. and Sr.
I'm going to show him who the real Mexican warrior is.
All right. What do you think of that?
Crazy. Jake is crazy.
Jake is crazy. Jake is crazy. Dude, learn English.
Jake is crazy.
Jake is crazy. And before you assholes say, oh, that's the Mexican pronunciation. Jake is how you pronounce Jake. He's pronouncing it wrong. How do you not know who you're fighting? How does a boxer not know Jake Paul's name? Jake Paul single-handedly saved boxing. And you're calling him Jake? The hell is a Jake? Jake Paul is a crazy. Jake Yol is crazy. He's a crazy man, this Jake.
Mira, para empezar,
To start off,
nunca noqueado a nadie.
he's never knocked anybody out.
Wow. Because earlier, the guy running the show here, the MC, he said that Jake Paul has 7 KOs on his record. And this guy, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., just said that Jake Paul has not knocked out anybody. Is he implying that all those fights were fake? Is he saying what I always said, that those fights were rigged? And that his opponents took a dive for the cashola? Is that what he's implying? He has 7 knockouts on his record. Why would he say he's never knocked out anybody? Unless he's referring to the allegations that Jake Yol is a fake fighter who pays off his opponents. Jake Yol has no real KOs because his opponents took dives. The truth about Jake Yol is coming out. He's a phony. Question is, will Chavez Jr. here take the dive? Does he need the money? For drugs? We'll get back to that later.
Dime a uno que haya noqueado.
Give me one name he's knocked out.
That's interesting. Because you can easily rattle off how many he's supposedly knocked out, right? So what's he saying? He's saying they're all fake. He's saying they're all fake. All the knockouts are fake.
Uno.
Just one.
I'll whoop both your asses on the same night.
It's going to be a good fight.
Put both the Chavezes in there. I'll whoop Senior and Junior. Hey, Julio.
What is Jake thinking? He just threatened Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. saying he'd kick his ass too. How old is he? Let's look this up. 62 years old. I thought he looks a lot older. He looks like he's in his mid to late 70s. But anyways, that's not the point. That actually only makes him 4 years older than Mike Tyson. It's funny because when Jake here threatened to also beat up Senior, I thought, okay, now you're just getting crazy. This guy's in his mid-70s. Then I looked it up. No, he's only 4 years older than Tyson. So it would actually make perfect sense if the fight was with Senior instead. I'm not even exaggerating. I'm not even exaggerating. What's the difference of 4 years? He fought a 58-year-old. Why not fight a 62-year-old? It would actually make more sense if Jake fought Chavez Sr. over Chavez Jr. Because Chavez Jr. is 39. That's cutting it a little too close for comfort. In the age department for Jake, he likes them senior citizens. So at first I thought Jake was just being rude here saying, oh, I'll beat him up too. But no, this is actually his preferred age range. Chavez Sr. is actually his preferred age range, not Junior. 39, 40, that's way too young for the Jake.
There's two things you can't beat. There's two things you can't beat. Me and your drug addiction.
Oh, that's not very nice. That's not very nice, Jake. Now guys, Chavez Jr. has been in and out of rehab for years. And most recently wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that long ago. Moral of the story is that it was fairly recent, his last time out of rehab. And shortly before that, he was in the nut house. That's right, folks. That's right. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was in the nut house against his own will. His wife called the men in white suits to take him away, and he was under a psychiatric hold against his will in the nut house. And that's who Jake is fighting. Now, the funny thing about this is that Jake thinks he's getting the better of him by making fun of his drug addiction. What you're actually doing, Jake, is you're making yourself look bad. You chose this opponent, so you chose a guy who you know is a drug addict, who somewhat recently got out of rehab. So making fun of him for his drug addiction actually makes you look like the jackass. Like imagine that Jake Paul chose a paraplegic as his dance partner, if you will. And he says to him, haha, you can't even walk. Yeah, quite the burn, but you picked him. You picked a guy who can't walk.
What do you think you have to do to win on June 28th?
Prepararme al 100 y ser el mejor que puedo ser, porque sé que no está fácil, está fuerte, pero...
Is this English? What is this? How do you not know English, dude? This is the problem with illegal immigration. This is what happens when you bring 20 million of them over the border in a short span of time. They have no need to assimilate and learn the language. Because there's so many of them, they can just talk amongst themselves in whatever language this is. Mexican, I guess? I guess he's speaking Mexican? Deport this guy! Deport this guy! Listen, when the fight is over and he takes a dive, I want ICE to come to the ring, put him in handcuffs, throw him in the back of their van, drive him over to the border, throw him over the fence. Just throw him over the fence. That's what I want to happen. You can do your fight, fine. But when the fight is over, you're leaving that stadium in handcuffs. You're going to the border and we're throwing you over. We're not even wasting money on a plane ticket unless Jake wants to fly you back to Mexico on his private plane. But that's up to Jake.
I've never seen him train like this. He's very focused. The way he's training right now, I have never seen that before. There is no way. No way.
No hay por dónde, no hay por dónde.
Where there is,
Así como se está preparando Julio, si sigue así hasta la pelea, no hay por dónde le gane Jake Paul. Porque Jake Paul no es peleador.
with all due respect to Jake Paul, the way Julio is training right now, there is no way, no how that Jake Paul can beat my son. No way. With the way that he's working out right now.
Jake, I would imagine that's what...
Now, I believe that Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. does believe what he's saying, that his son will beat Jake Paul. Now, the problem is, Senior doesn't know that Junior took the bribe already. Now, Senior's watching him train, going, yes, my son is going to defend the honor of my name. He's going to make up for being a pathetic drug addict. What he doesn't know is that he took the bribe and he's going to take the dive. So sad. So sad. This poor, decrepit old man who can't even speak English relying on his son to redeem himself after all these years of humiliating the family name. And he's just going to do it again. He's going to take the dive. That's what all his opponents do, except for Tommy Fury, thank goodness. Thank goodness the gypsy couldn't be bought out.
Que sí le va a echar chingazo, ¿me entiendes? Entonces vamos a ver si realmente aguanta.
This time, I'm going to translate verbatim. This time he's going to get fucked up.
What a rude old man.
I promise you that this fight will end in the same way it always does. I'm going to turn you into another meme with your head in your hands and another disappointment in your son. I promise you. I promise you.
What do you say?
Que esta vez te prometo que vas a terminar.
Fucking puta. That's what I said. Fucking puta.
Esta vez.
The disrespect. The disrespect is a 20-something-year-old Jake Yaw calling a legend, and legend Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. an effing puta. Oh my gosh. The rudeness. The rudeness. Just no respect for his elders. And you know, I think that is the crux of the issue here with Jake exclusively fighting old people. You know, their narrative is that he goes for older fighters because it's easier fights, right? Or he goes for older fighters because they're short on cash, so they'll take the dive, right? That's been the story thus far about why he fights the older fighters. I have another theory. When you see the disrespect here, you begin to realize that Jake actually hates old people. Jake Yaw hates old people. And that is why he selects them as his opponents. Because that is the only way he can legally get away with battering senior citizens. That is the only way he can get away with beating up old people. Because if he just went out on the street or he went to the local old folks home and beat them up, arrested. Prison time. But what if they're a willing combatant inside the boxing ring? Well, he can beat them up. He can pay them to take a dive so he can just keep beating them with no pushback. Like how Mike Tyson was just biting his glove instead of punching Jake. This is the real issue here. He just hates old people. That's why he got into boxing. To beat up old people.
All right.
I think it's funny that Daddy does all the talking. I didn't know it was bring your dad to work day.
No sabíamos que este era que el papá tenía que hacer toda el palabrerío, que no sabía que este era el día de traer al
But
padre
then
al
again,
trabajo.
you're nothing without your dad.
Pero tú no
Nepo
eres nadie
baby.
sin tu papá.
You were born with a silver spoon in your mouth.
That's rich. That's rich, Jake. Saying that Chavez Jr. was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. When you grew up in a McMansion. Now guys, I covered that in one of my previous videos. I showed his childhood home in one of my previous videos. He did not grow up poor. He absolutely had a silver spoon in his mouth too. Now maybe this family had more money, the dad being a famous boxer. Fine. But let's not pretend like Jake Yaw's story is a rags to riches story. Because it is not, my friends. Do not be fooled. They both had silver spoons up their asses.
And you're obviously making a lot of money. Is there, how far do you think you are from a world title fight? And what do you need to, in order to get there?
Yeah, we're very close. I think less than 2 years, the right opportunity just has to open up. But right now I'm focused on this former world champion, and this is going to build my resume and build my skill set under the lights.
This dude's delusional. This dude is delusional. Less than 2 years to a world championship fight, and his current fight is with a damn near 40-year-old drug addict. Guys, listen. Let's discuss Chavez Jr. as a boxer. And I don't mean in his younger days, but more recently. 4 years ago, Chavez Jr. was in a boxing match with Anderson Silva, an MMA fighter. Now, this was 4 years ago. So Chavez Jr. would have been 35 Do you know how old Silva was during that fight? 46. Anderson Silva was 46 years old, fighting a younger Chavez Jr. You know how that turned out? Anderson Silva beat his ass in boxing. That actually might have been Silva's first boxing match. Somebody correct me. Regardless, it was one of his first ones after retiring from MMA. So a 46-year-old MMA fighter beat the crap out of a 35-year-old Chavez Jr. Now we got a 39-year-old Chavez Jr. Not against a 46-year-old, against how old is this guy? Late 20s. And someone who trains specifically in boxing. This fight is a joke. This fight is a joke. Not to mention how much weight Jake has on Chavez Jr. And yet, Jake thinks with this matchup he gets closer to a world title fight. It's just madness.
First question for you. If you knock out Junior, is that the final threshold for you to be able to say, I'm ready to fight Zurdo Ramirez for a championship?
I'm ready now, you know. This is just a stepping stone. I see him as a speed bump, but I know what I'm capable of, and that's the mindset you have to have. I know I'm the greatest. I know I'm a world champion even before I arrive to that level.
Did you hear that? He just said, I know I am the greatest. Jake Paul is the greatest living boxer. Jake Paul is the greatest in his own words. As I told you at the start of this video. This guy right here is the greatest boxer in the world. The guy who fought a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, a Mike Tyson who's paid to hold back. That guy's the greatest boxer in the world. Not Terence Crawford, not Usyk. None of those guys. None of those guys can hold a candle to Jake Paul. Now guys, on this channel, I cover idiot influencers like Yakey over here. But I just started a new channel where I cover more important news, current affairs. It's called the Sewer News Network, and you can watch my latest video on that channel right here. And when you get there, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications.